I grew up in a normal school with normal friends and pretty much a normal life. But when I was 15 years old, I discovered a secret about me that changed everything. My parents had a secret about myself for 15 years. But before I go on, be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell. If you do, your crush will ask you out. Trust me, it really works. Growing up, I thought I was your average girl next door. There was never really anything particularly special about me. I was pretty much average in everything, from looks to grades to popularity. I was probably the most average girl out there. I had no idea that I would soon learn a secret that changed things forever. Anyway, school was pretty much normal for me, just like anybody else. I was okay with homework. I handed homework in most of the time, but I wasn't a star student, not by any stretch of the imagination. I was also bullied quite a bit. Girls would tease me because I looked different to them. You see, my parents and I were from a foreign country, and so obviously we were different to the other kids at school. Girls teased me for my face, my skin color, my hair. It was really terrible. But I had to suffer the bullying because if I tried to fight back, then I wouldn't have any friends. I acted like it was all a joke, but really, it hurt a lot inside. By the time I got to high school, I was a quiet and nervous kid, but I was actually quite pretty. Boys always seemed to like me, and there was never any shortage of guys asking me out or telling me they had a crush on me. I loved it. This one guy, his name was Tom, asked me out. And I actually had a huge crush on him since kindergarten. I immediately said yes, and I asked my parents if they could take me to the park since that was where Tom and I would be having our first date. Mom, Dad, can you please drive me to the park? I asked. Why? Asked Mom. Well, a boy actually asked me out on a date, I said nervously. I wasn't sure how they would react. Well, as it turned out, they reacted horribly. What? Yelled Dad. No, you can't go. I forbid you. But why not? I asked disappointedly. Because, Rainey, you cannot go dating some random boy. He's not random. I really like him. That's it. You're grounded. No dating anybody, yelled Dad. I was so sad. I stormed to my room and cried for at least 2 hours. Why were my parents so unfair? A ton of my other friends had boyfriends and girlfriends. Why couldn't I? At first, I thought they were just being your typical overprotective parents. But one day, they did something that completely crossed the line. You see, I wasn't just gonna stand by and let my parents ruin my life. So I decided to hang out with Tom anyway. I didn't need my parents to take me. Instead, I took the bus to the park. And I just told my parents I was going to my best friend's house. I felt bad for lying, but this was the only way for me to see Tom. I met Tom and we had a blast. It was so fun, and it went even better than I expected. I was really starting to like him, and I was looking forward to all our future dates when I spotted a familiar face at the park. It was a woman sitting on a bench. She was wearing glasses, and she was pretending to read a newspaper, but really, she was staring right at me. That's when I realized who I recognized her from. It was my mother. Why was she in a disguise? I asked Tom to wait while I spoke to her. I walked up to her and I was so annoyed. But then I heard a yelp from behind me and saw my dad screaming at Tom. He was telling Tom to never speak to me again, otherwise he would ruin his life. I couldn't believe this. What was wrong with my parents? I knew this wasn't normal behavior. They couldn't just keep me from dating somebody my whole life. I was human. It was natural to like someone. But apparently, my parents didn't want me to date anyone. I was grounded, and they told me I couldn't go anywhere. I couldn't even hang out with my friends. I was so shocked by this sudden change in their behavior. They used to be such cool parents, but now they were getting really frustrating. I couldn't understand where this was coming from. For weeks and weeks, I was stuck at home. I only got to see my friends at school, but when I tried to find Tom and apologize for my parents' behavior, he ran away from me. It seems my dad had really scared him. At home, I was miserable. I was annoyed with my parents for keeping me cooped up in the house, but I was stuck with them, and it was so boring too. I had no friends to chat with, no boys to flirt with, no games to enjoy. It wasn't fair. I thought my life would forever be stuck in this constant controlling feeling. But then something happened that completely threw my world upside down. I was at school one day sitting in English class. I was gazing out the window because I wasn't really listening to what the teacher said when I saw movement outside. From the English classroom, we had a view of the school garden and field, and I thought I could see someone sitting in a bush just outside the window. I rubbed my eyes, thinking I had imagined it, and when I looked again, the figure was gone. My heart was beating fast, but then I climbed myself down. It was just an illusion. It was probably just some leaf waving in the wind, and I had mistaken it for a person. I decided not to think about it for the rest of the day. But then something happened in history class that was undeniable. History class was on the 3rd floor, and there's this huge oak tree outside the window. I looked out and spotted a person hiding in the tree. They were wearing this weird camouflage suit, so if you weren't focusing on them, it was easy to mistake them for just another bunch of leaves or something. They were staring right at me, and they must have noticed I'd seen them because suddenly they climbed down the tree and bolted away. I told my friends to look out the window too, but they were busy paying attention to the teacher. No one had seen the spy. When I got home, I told my parents about the incident, and their reaction was really strange. Mom, Dad, you won't believe what I saw at school today. A spy! I told them excitedly. They looked alarmed. What did he look like? What nationality was he? They asked urgently. I frowned. What a strange question. I would have thought they wouldn't have believed me, but I guess they did. I don't know, I replied. He had fair skin, so maybe he's European or something. I have no idea. Why does it matter? Rainy, this is important, said Mom. Where was he from? Well, he was white, and he had blue eyes and blonde hair. That's all I can tell you, I said. They were really starting to annoy me, but my parents' eyes widened in alarm. He didn't look like us? Asked Dad, pointing at our darker complexion and black hair. I shook my head. This seemed to make them even more alarmed. Why? What is it? I asked. They didn't answer. Then, to my horror, they ended up locking me in my room. What were they thinking? This was a complete overreaction. There was no need for this. But they refused to budge, and for the rest of the weekend, I was stuck in my room. My parents brought me food and water, and I was allowed to go to the bathroom, but I couldn't even dream of stepping into the garden. That's when I realized I had become my parents' prisoner. This was unbelievable. One evening, my parents went out to get some groceries, and I decided this was my chance to escape. I had to run away. There was no other choice. I couldn't live my life like this. I loved my parents to bits, but this was toxic. I decided to steal some money to help me out in my new life. I didn't know where to go or how I would survive, but I guessed I could just hop on the bus and hope for the best. I went into my parents' bedroom to find their wallet. I was sure they also had a stash of money under the mattress. I lifted their bed and peered under, and that's when I spotted a strange box of letters. There were tons of them, and they were all addressed to me, except, now this was the strangest thing. They all called me Princess Rainy. I couldn't believe what I was reading. All of them said Princess Rainy, and I opened a few of them. Just by reading a few paragraphs, I realized the truth. I was a princess of some foreign country? How was this possible? And how could my parents have hidden the secret from me for 15 years? One letter thanked my parents for looking after me and for adopting me. Now my parents weren't even my real parents? This was too much to take in. I threw the box on the floor and backed away. No, this couldn't be real. I was a normal girl. I went to high school. I wasn't the princess of some country I've never even heard of. I decided I had to confront my parents about this. When they got home, I showed them the letters and I told them to tell me the truth. My mom decided it was time I knew. You're a princess, Rainy. I was so shocked to hear her say it. It sounded like a dream. Your real parents, the queen and king, felt it's safe for you to grow up here with us, explained Dad. You see, your home country has been under a great coup, and it was very dangerous for you to remain there. We offered to look after you, and ever since you have been under our protection. But that doesn't mean we don't love you. We love you like our own daughter. I can't believe this. Why was this kept a secret from me? I asked. For your own protection. That spy you saw at school the other day was an enemy sent to try and kidnap you. It seems your identity has been leaked. You have to move back to your home country, and you have to marry a prince there too. What? No way! You have to, Rainy. That is why we had to stop you from dating other boys here. You already have an arranged marriage. I'm sorry, darling, but this marriage could save your country. This was outrageous. Before I even had time to process the news, they said I had to hop on the first available flight back home. Before long, I was in the palace where I had been born, meeting my real parents. They told me they had missed me so much and they were happy to have me back, but now it was time for me to marry. I met the boy I'm supposed to marry, but I don't like him at all. He's snobby and rude and quite ugly, to be frank. I'm still 16 years old, so I have a couple of years ahead of me before I need to marry. Honestly, I hope I can change their mind. They shouldn't be able to control me like this, but I don't know. It's me against an entire country. I'm not sure if I'll be able to win. What would you do if you were in my shoes? How would you react if you found out you were a princess? Let me know in the comments below. And please, don't forget to like and subscribe. I really appreciate it.